Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Inc. I have got a super duper treat for you today. One of the coolest cats I know, Mr. Spanky Moskowitz, the owner of Ad Zombies, and all-around amazing human being. Welcome to the show.
Allie Boyd, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here, stoked to see you.
Yes, it's awesome. So the last time we saw each other was right before the world turned upside down, and I'm so glad that I got all that face-to-face time while I could.
Let's please call it what it was, the zombie apocalypse.
The ad zombie apocalypse. Your branding was made for this.
I built the brand just for 2020.
It's been a zombie year for sure. And
100%.
For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about zombies, Ad Zombies is Ken's claim to fame, among many other things. But why don't you introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about what you do and how you got here.
What do I do? Well, Ad Zombies is basically an at-scale copywriting service. We write words that sell anything for businesses anywhere. And this business really started when I was 12 years old. And I just didn't know it at the time. I was that dorky kid who, instead of going to the beach with my family on weekends, would spend my Saturdays making commercials in my bedroom. Like literally listening to the radio, and instead of making mixtapes of music, I would listen to the radio commercials and then craft my own. And I became passionate about storytelling and advertising. And because I used to listen to these ads and go, wow, people go into stores and buy stuff because some dummy on the radio tells them to. That's cool. And so I spent my time learning how to craft ads. And so, you know, while other kids were into computers and other kids were into sports, I was making ads and everybody thought I was weird. But that weirdness has served me well throughout my career.
Absolutely. And we would have been best friends. I'll just have you know, I was doing very similar things at a young age, making my own little ad scripts, like for hair care products. You know, the things you do when you're young, they really do, I think, show what you're truly passionate about. So Ken is an amazing copywriter. And when he says words that sell anything, he is not lying. There's only, 2 or 3 industries you're not able to write for because of the restrictions?
Yeah, so it's things you smoke and things you poke. We can't sell, we can't write for weed or sex toys. That's about
Bummer, man.
Yeah, I know.
We could have a lot of fun with those. I would love to see your take on it. I know. It would be hilarious.
But I will say this. We have this ad that we created for us. It's called a hero ad, and it lives on our website and our Facebook page. But it's super cool because in that ad, which we do run and put dollars behind, that ad actually mentions weed and sex toys. And we do it and blur them out because we have to get them across the Facebook filter. But that ad allows us to really talk about the only 2 things we can't talk about, and allows them to put it out there into the universe because I had to get it out of my system. And so we still have this big fat blunt in the office, and we still have the other thing.
Other thing. I mean, let's go on a field trip to Spanky's office. That's what I have to say.
You do not want to go on a field trip to my office. There are things in here that people should not see.
And that's all the more reason that I want to see him. I'm sure it would be a trip. But anyway, so today what we're going to be sharing with you guys is really some of this creative geniuses, creative tips. We obviously talk about Facebook and Instagram ads a lot, and this man is a master at really getting people to take action, seeing things in a different way, connecting with people emotionally through his words. So is there any type of system, the Spanky system, for coming up with the amazing copy that you do on a regular basis?
So I think great copy starts with a great headline. I think most advertisers, when you're a small business, the number one thing you want to do, especially like at the local level, is you want to drive people to your business, right? Whether that's a physical location or generating leads, right? If you're a contractor or you have a business that relies on leads, and too many businesses forget that the headline of the ad has only one job. They try to cram everything into the headline, but the headline has one job. It's the ad for the rest of the ad. And so that headline, I think, is more important than the ad copy itself. And before that, the image or video that stops people from scrolling. You know, when you're scrolling through a feed, just think about it as a consumer, right? Take yourself out of the business owner's perspective for a second. You're a consumer, it's a Saturday, you're sitting there with a drink, you're scrolling through Facebook, and what catches your attention isn't necessarily the boring pictures or the visuals of the kid and the puppy in the backyard that, you know, it's your friend's kid, whatever. No, it's the stuff that's different, that's creative, that's eye-catching. It grabs your attention. It grabs you by the eyeballs. Okay, so that's what you want first. You've got to have something visual, but right after you've caught their attention, you've only got a couple of seconds to make that impression, and that's what your headline needs to do. So we've created a formula. We call it the H5. It's a secret formula of writing great ad headlines. And there's only 5 elements required for headlines.
And let's hear those 5 elements. You got me on the edge of my seat here.
Sorry. Okay. So element number 1 is you've got to grab their attention. The most important job of the headline is to get the reader to have an emotional response, to elicit an emotional reaction. And you can do that either by making a claim, a promise, or just awakening their curiosity. It's really simple to do that. The second thing, and by the way, you don't need all 5 of these in a headline, you just need one. But one of these 5 elements is all you need, but you've got to get the reader to stop first and then read it. Number 2 is you've got to qualify and screen the person reading the ad. And that means if you're writing a headline, and I'm writing a headline directed towards everybody, right? I want to attract men, women, kids, whatever. You're talking to no one because it's not individualized. A headline has to speak to an individual, not a group. And oftentimes business owners tend to want to blast everything to everyone. And that's a big mistake because everyone is not your target audience.
100%.
Right? So think about who your target audience is, who that avatar is. I'm not talking about the blue character in the movie, but who the avatar is of that ideal client. And you want to write everything that speaks to him, to her, to them, that individual, not the group. The third thing is you've got to suck them in. And remember, I said that the key to a headline is it's the ad for the rest of the ad. So what does sucking them in look like? And I'll give you an example. Master French cooking in 3 steps. If you're serving an ad to people who are want to learn how to cook French food, right? How do you suck them in? If you want to get someone like me, who for years was not a gym rat, and in fact, I was a gym hater, I would have seen an ad served to me by gym owners or fitness people. I would have just ignored them. But if I was served an ad that said, turn fat into muscle without stepping foot in the gym, I'd be like, what? How do I do this? Right? They get your attention, they suck you in. The fourth element is what's in it for me. You've got to sell the single benefit that reader is going to get from consuming your content, reading your ad, right? People buy because you serve a need, right? There's a benefit to them for spending the money with you. You've got to sell them on the benefit. What's in it for me? And then the 5th element is credibility. Credibility is so important. If you want to grab their attention, you need to be credible. You need to be an authority. And establishing credibility in your headline can actually move certain people to take action. Not everybody, certain people. So know your audience and know when to use those different elements. But Allie, those elements are all available. I can share them. If people want to get them, they can download the actual elements. They just have to go to learn.adzombies.com. And in fact, I'll give you the link and you can post it. How's that?
Absolutely. I know they're going to want to do that. So it's so interesting because today was my first class for one of my group programs for local business owners. And of course, we are really trying to start with those fundamentals. And we talked a lot about avatars. And the truth of it is that if you don't know those things, your copywriting, it doesn't really matter how good it ever will be, it's not going to be effective. So exactly what you were saying, get so clear on that person. Is this a person that credibility would drive them to action, or is it not? For me personally, it's like the types of ads where my headline is referencing like a 2 comma club award from ClickFunnels. Like there's only some people that would care about that. There's a segment
or that know what it is.
Exactly. And so I'm not going to assume that that's the thing that's going to make everyone realize that this could really work. It's only designed for very certain groups. And it's always very interesting to me to see which one of those pieces works out the best. Is there one of those 5 that you prefer over the others, or do you try and mix them together at all?
I mix them up and I mix them together. For me, I like to grab people and shake them. So for me, a headline, I like to jar people and grab their attention. So I would say probably that's the one that is highest up on my list.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to do it in fun ways. I like to do it in creative ways. I do it in all of our ads that way because
I love them.
Thank you. My number one goal when we write ads for us, for my business, is not necessarily to convert the sale from every ad. My goal is to entertain and engage my audience, because I've built a brand that allows me to entertain and engage. So I will spend money on ads that simply entertain you. And there's a reason for it, right? For me, I simply want to stay in your periphery. People use us. We're like a service. And so people use us when they need us. Well, they may not need us today, but they might need us next week. So if I'm in their periphery at all times, when that need arises, they go, oh yeah, those guys. And we create the ads that entertain, engage them, make them laugh. They share them. We have some ads that have been shared been seen millions of times and been shared thousands of times globally. That's free advertising for us. That works also on a local scale. It's going to be different though. It's very expansive because the internet doesn't have boundaries.
No, and that is so true. It's actually a part of the ad strategy that we teach. I also like to do education. So engagement, education, entertainment. You're great at the entertainment aspect. Some people struggle with it a little bit, so we try and give them some other options if that's not their thing. But you're so right. The businesses that are like yours, which I see them honestly have a hard time with that concept you just mentioned. The fact that just because you've acquired a customer doesn't mean they're a customer for life. There's still a lot more juice left to squeeze, so to speak. And sometimes people will look at you for a while before they make a move. So one of the examples I just gave on our call today was a salon owner. And if I have been going to the same hairdresser for 10 years,
You mean like me?
Yeah.
As I have no hair, for those of you.
Well, even though I have a lot of hair, I rarely ever go. But so if somebody's committed to the person or, committed, they have been going regularly.
Right.
Then they're not actively looking for someone new. But if you can have a segment of your advertising designed to educate, to entertain, that person now becomes open to you. They can start that relationship building process with you. And who knows, maybe they haven't been thrilled with the person they've been working with, but they just didn't have another option in their mind to turn to. So right. Having something like that gives people a very low pressure opportunity, in my opinion, to discover somebody else that they could work with. So when you talk about having your creative that stops the scroll, so that's kind of the phrasing I like to use, creative stops the scroll and your copy converts. I always see that your ads are very tied with your creative and your headline, and it flows so well. So do you typically choose your creative first or focus on your headline first, or how does that process work?
So it's switched over the last few years. So it used to be I would start with the headline and then find the image to match. But when we discovered that video worked better for us and converted at a higher rate, we started I started with video first because I like to, and this is just my creative process, right? It doesn't mean it's everybody's and doesn't work for everybody. It works for me. For me, I like to be inspired by the video. And so oftentimes I will choose a video that has nothing to do with what my business is. And let me explain this. And because I think it's really hard for people to grasp this concept, Allie, and it's important to understand why it works for me, and it may or may not work for your business. And that's why I want to give that caveat of why we do it. So for me, I'm in a very creative business, right? We write words for businesses all over the world. The problem with that is if we created ads that showed people sitting in front of computers, typing words on a screen, oh my God, we'd be out of business.
Yeah.
Nobody would use us. So what do? We create ads that are funny. We create ads that entertain. And I use visuals that are quite different. Some of them are jarring. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the clown ad. And
I don't know that I've seen that one. I'm thinking of the eyeballs right now.
The eyeballs, right.
Yeah.
Getting more eyeballs on your business. And so we have this ad that's all eyeballs, and you just see these eyeballs. And some people are like, ew, that's gross. But they're all animated, and it's fun and engaging, and it grabs your attention. We have another one that has a spider, a big yellow spider that crosses the screen. And if you're on a smartphone, it literally
That's so funny.
And that ad says, and I forgot the language, but it talks about it converts. You know, it doesn't bite, but it converts. And but the clown ad is the one that I remember when I created this ad, my business partner was like, "This is terrible. It sucks. Why would you put this out there?" He hated it. And I said, "Brandon, trust me. I know our audience. Trust me." And we put this ad live. And when it went live, the ad immediately got traction because I didn't realize at the time the segment of the world's population that has a clown phobia. And so this clown in a blow-up, bloated suit, has some blood streaks on him, is sneaking up on a child in a field. And it says, the copy's like, what's the number one word marketers can't find? Help. We're something of it like that. And we're here for you. And it's a really, like, the copy is so minimal in the ad, but that ad has now been seen 1.6 million times, been shared 590 times, and has thousands of reactions to it. Our hero ad, 4 million views and over 1,000 shares now, I think, if we look globally. But those ads, now, why I care about shares and reactions and comments. Let me explain a little bit about my strategy for those. Typically, in our circles, we know people that are in our industry, right? So if you're a builder, you have a lot of builder and contractor friends. So when you share an ad or they share an ad for a service that's in your field, most likely they're going to share it with others that are in the same industry. So when people share our ad, because we're targeting people who spend money on advertising for their business, guess who sees it? More people that they're associated with. Now, not always. Sometimes it's going to be Cousin Larry, who happens to be afraid of clowns. But most of the time, the people they share with are in their industry or are working in the same field. And so you're just getting free love from that ad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just add to that. I mean, that is something that we definitely help local businesses with. And it's not something a lot of local businesses feel they can achieve because they do have the smaller audience, but the audience is still there. You still have the opportunity to do that. So for one client, we have, gosh, we tested content with them for such a long time, but I'd say we have, 5 to 10 ads that had thousands of likes. I think the highest one was close to 10,000. 500 shares, hundreds of comments. Well, it does help you spread that word for cheaper, but I also think that the power of just that social proof and engagement, it makes people think that you're a big deal, that you're a business to take note of. And I mean, let's be honest, people like what other people like. People do what other people do. And so the more engagement you get, the more engagement you'll continue to get. And people will simply just see you. And it doesn't matter if they're in the market for you always or not, because they might have a friend who is, or their mom might be, and they'll say, you know who I saw the other day? You should check them out. So I love that strategy. Very similar. I mean, for all of you who are thinking that they may have a hard time being as creative as you are, I totally love the strategy that you use where you first look at the visuals to get inspired. So that's something that I try and do just with photos on my phone. It tends to be like photos of me and my daughter. So I had one that was just, it was just her first day of potty training. And so I just came up with how marketing is like potty training. It had like literally on the surface,
Sure.
zero to do with it. I never would have come up with that if I hadn't looked at the picture intentionally, trying to spark those creative juices. And you'd be amazed at what you can tie together sometimes if you're thinking about it, you know? So
Yeah.
definitely a great suggestion.
And tap into your experiences, right? If you, and I know you work with a lot of local businesses that are like contractors and other things. So I'm going that direction intentionally. You know, when you think about your beginnings as a contractor or at the start of your business, think about the mistakes you made. Think about, like, I have this very vivid memory of my dad in the garage using a hammer and hammering his thumb by accident. Like, if you're a contractor and you ran a video of the contractor hammering his thumb, and then I would stop, because you don't expect that. It's something that disrupts the pattern of normalcy. And so think out of the box, because, and I know contractors are really good at building this stuff, right? But think outside of the box of what you normally do, and think of what you could do with your industry that might entertain someone, that might engage them in a different level. Because if I'm just looking at glamour shots of a finished job, I may go, it looks like everything else I see on the internet. It doesn't stop the scroll. But if I saw a contractor putting a hammer to his hand by accident, and I'm just using that footage may or may not exist. Please do not hammer your hand for this. That would really suck if somebody, I listened to him. I hammered
Zero
my hand.
liability here. Zero liability.
Yeah. My attorney disavows any knowledge of what I just said.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you can have some fun with your advertising, and I will make one really, I think this is such an important thing for every business owner to know. And I'm leaning into this, actually. I find myself leaning into this conversation whenever I talk about this. Please don't get political. Let me explain why. I don't care if you are a hardcore conservative or a hardcore liberal. The problem with having a political opinion as a business owner is that you alienate half of your potential customers. And while it may fire you up and you may be burning on the inside to vomit on the internet, don't do it, because it can really hurt your business. And I had personal experience with this. A friend of mine had shared something recently, and I'm not going to say what party it was, but he said something that I never want to work with people that are this party, because they are dumb, they are this. And I DM'd him and I said, what are you doing? And he says, well, it's just true. It's how I feel. I don't want to work. I've never met any of these people that I like. And I said, great. So you're going to throw away half your business, the potential of half of your business, for that one comment, that one moment where it might have been an emotional thing that really fired you up. But do yourself a favor. Get on the phone with your close family or friends that are like-minded, that you can just share and dump it, get it out of your system, purge, and then go back to doing your thing. Or do what I do. Unfollow people that irritate you, because those are the people that are going to bait you into doing that one thing that could damage your business for a long, long time. So don't get political.
So right. I mean, honestly, I don't think this is talked about enough. And it's kind of a crazy time that we're in right now, because, you know, with everything that's been going on, people have actually been wanting to call out people that aren't talking about certain things. But I think we as business owners have such a fine line to walk sometimes with what we say, because I don't know about you, but my business is my livelihood. It's how I support my family. This is how I live. And I simply don't have opinions, like the person you just mentioned, to where I wouldn't want to work with a certain type of person. So I have no interest in alienating those people, just to, like you said, you have this moment of emotion, but ultimately, is it going to change your life for the better by putting it out there? Most likely not.
It's like before we got, and here's where I come in, I'll totally contradict what I said right now. Okay. Just before we sat down to do our podcast, this episode, I went on Facebook Live, and I went on Facebook Live I went on multiple channels, not just Facebook, to talk about an opportunity for business owners right now that exists in the marketplace. And I was hesitant. It was the first time I had gone online live, and I was hesitant to say what I was about to say. And that was, now is an incredible time for small businesses to put money into the Facebook ecosystem. And why I said that was because there are a lot of brands, big brands, that are boycotting Facebook right now, that are pulling money out of the ecosystem by the millions because they're protesting, they're protesting things that they don't agree with. These big brands have the ability to do that. And all it's going to do is build their brand awareness to their loyal base. So it's good for them no matter what. Even if they stop spending millions on Facebook for a month or two, what happens is that because Facebook is a supply and demand platform, the demand drops, the supply goes up, and the costs go down. Right now, or prior to this, where all these brands started pulling out, the costs were getting higher and higher and higher. As soon as people started to realize that what happened in March with the start of COVID was just a blip in the business world, and hey, we still have to do business, people started using the platform again. And the inventory shrunk and the costs went up. Well, now you've got big brands pulling millions and millions of dollars out of the platform. Costs are going to get cheap again. July and August are going to be bargain basement shopping. And so I was hesitant because people are really passionate about misinformation and hate speech. And I get that. I didn't have an opinion about misinformation and hate speech. What I had an opinion on is growing your business. And it's an opportune time for you to take advantage of the fact that there's a big hole in the market. And so, it really does fly in the face of what I said, because people could look at that and go, well, you're taking a political stance because you're saying put money in. No, I'm not. I'm saying look at your business, and if it feels right for you, and if it feels like a good decision for you, then take advantage of it.
I think, honestly, we shared the exact same opinion on that. I personally believe that there is a way to say things that you want to say without alienating people, without causing a lot of controversy, honestly. So I did a post not that long ago talking about, here are my experiences after my state reopened with local businesses. And I saw a lot of things that I thought were going to cost them a lot of business. And, it was really focused on mandating masks. So my whole thing is, I don't care what you do one way or the other, but here are the things you need to consider where your business is concerned. But the thing is that your audience is business owners, my audience is business owners, and we are sharing valuable information. So I think there's a way to tie it in, but that's why being a wordsmith is so important. Knowing simply how to say things sometimes is really everything. And I mean, you have mastered the art of saying what you need to say in few words or many words. But ultimately, I feel like if there is one skill that local business owners could really get better with, it is copywriting and learning how to be concise and how to share a message that, doesn't alienate, but if you still want to share your personality, it can still do that too.
And as a small business owner, the best thing you can do is not be the hero in your ad, but make your customer the hero.
I love that.
Your job is to guide them, right? You are, I love what, oh gosh, what's his book? And book just eludes me brain-wise. Complete brain fart. It happens all the time. Wait, when you hit 53, you just watch what happen. But you want to be their Yoda. You want to be their guide. And when you do that, they pay attention to you. Don Miller. Couldn't think of it. I was like going crazy. I'm like,
better late than never.
Listen, you know.
So if you could kind of clarify these different types of ad copy that you would say you use on a regular basis, and that might mean different things to different people, but I know that you're great with the emotional connection. You're great with the, you know, the fun, entertaining type of ad copy. Are there other styles that you kind of have in your little Rolodex and you say, okay, these are the ones that I typically consider. I try and find the best opportunity to use them. Are there certain styles that you lean towards?
There are really only 3 styles that I use, and one is the humor, the other is the emotional, and the other one is direct call to action ads. And there's a place for all of them. The last one is neither emotional, and generally it's not funny. It's just business, right? Mm-hmm. It's just the transaction side. But to get there, I warm up the audience, and that's where I warm them up, is with the humor and with the emotional. You want your audience to connect to your copy, to the words that you're using. If you can connect with people's hearts, it then triggers the connection in their brain, which allows them to make a rational decision, even though people buy irrationally, right? But if you can connect at the heart first, they go, oh, that makes sense. And then logic kicks in and they go, yes, I need that, or I want that. And so then you can serve them a conversion ad, something that is strictly business. And so I don't ever start with business, because I don't want them to just be a transaction.
Yeah.
I want to build a long-term relationship. And I think that's the healthiest thing for my business and lots of businesses, because you don't want a single transaction client. You want a multi-transaction client.
Absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of local business owners struggle, is they don't feel like they can insert heart into their ads. Sometimes they feel like it has to be that strictly business. Sadly, it could be done really well. They're not exactly performing it to the best of its abilities, but I mean, you hit it right on the head. You want to build a relationship online, whether it's through organic content or paid advertising, it doesn't matter. You're just trying to get it in front of people who will feel something different about you than they do for everyone else that sells the same exact thing potentially. So
100%.
If you could give one final piece of advice to our listeners in terms of how to really level up their ad copy or copywriting skills in general, what would you tell them?
I'm going to tell you the one thing I tell everybody. Write the worst copy you think you like. Just write. Put it all out there. Like, you have an idea for an ad, just start writing. Word vomit on paper or word vomit on your screen, and just let the words flow. And what you'll find is gems. Not every sentence is going to work. Not everything you write is going to resonate. But if you start practicing and write and write and write, you'll find that you'll get better every time. You'll learn how to tell your story more concisely. Like, if you write an ad that's a story about your business, and then you go back to it in a week and you look at it and you start taking a highlighter to it. If you let it go through the printer, highlight it and go, wow, if I just take out this, this, and this, I can really shrink that down and still it has that same impact. But I would say practice writing, and practice and practice and practice, because the more you do, the better you become at writing your own ads. And oftentimes I'll write 15 to 20 headlines for a single ad, and I throw away 99% of them, but the one that I keep is the gold.
Absolutely. So seriously, so much great information. I really do feel passionately that if local business owners could see copywriting for the critical skill that it is in their business, a lot of things would change from that one thing alone. So where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you and Ad Zombies?
You can just go to our website, adzombies.com, ADZOMBIES, adzombies.com.
Short, sweet, and definitely check out the branding because it's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Ken. Really, really appreciate it. And I know our listeners are going to love it just as much as I did.
Thanks for having me, and no disrespect to Donald Miller and StoryBrand. It was a brain fart. I'm sorry, Don.
It happens. It happens. All right. Thanks.